Short story by Paul McCann. The Man in the Big Picture. Meth had no family or friends. He had been abandoned at birth by his parents, and in his childhood years he was mistreated in the orphanage where he grew up. Meth ran away to the city before his teenage years and found work in a zoo where he fed the reptiles and the animals. Meth bred mice at home and he liked snakes. And he fed the mice to the snakes. And he had a pet rat that ate anything that was left over in scraps around the flat. Meth had a fear of people, and he isolated himself as much as possible from their company. No one would have ever known how Meth despised people, and no one would have ever known his love for his rat and his snakes. And whenever he went out into the streets or went shopping, he took the snakes along inside a backpack, and no one would have ever known what he carried inside that bag. No one could really understand why he liked being in their company instead of human company. And strangely enough, Meth's appearance resembled that of a rat. He stayed away from people, for humans threatened him and made him feel insecure. His fear of humans grew and drove dark thoughts through him. In his mind, he began to imagine murder, destruction, and his life was cloaked by insanity. He was consumed with an anger that was getting out of control. Meth came to a strange place where he decided to strike back at the world. He attempted to join a major terrorist organization without any success. He even told them his evil intentions that he wanted to do and how he could take out many lives, causing harm to many people. However, all the terrorist groups just ignored him, which really annoyed Meth.
Winter's night, traveller's tale.
And this only fueled his hatred for people more as he started on a solo existence and extensive research on how to build bombs. Eventually, his persistent efforts paid off, and he obtained the knowledge and the know-how on how to build a bomb. And in the end, he did.
If you wanna dance, there's your chance.
Meth placed the device inside a backpack, and off he went into town to find a target. And it didn't take long. He looked around, and there it was, amongst the supermarkets, the restaurants, and between the train station and the car park. There was a large crowd standing outside the movie theatre. There were lots of young people and old people who were out for a night's entertainment. They all seemed happy and excited, and that's when Meth decided that he would put an end to their little party. And now he had his victims and the place of destruction. Slowly he made his way to the movie theatre, and there he waited until the time was right. And then he went inside and bought a ticket. The movie showing was called The Day That Time Stopped, and Meth made his way to the movie theatre with a backpack filled with gelignite and a timing device. Inside the movie theatre, Everyone had taken their seat, and they all sat back watching the big screen. And now the show was about to begin.
How well I love those.
"Ah,
when you feel-
I'm going to kill you all," he said to himself as they sat back, eating their snacks, munching on their chips, slurping their drinks up their straws. And in the darkness, Meth sat with no intention of watching the movie, for he was hell-bent on destruction. For this was his purpose. He opened up the backpack, about to activate the timer. Suddenly, everything went quiet. A voice from the movie screen called out, "Stop!" Meth looked up. He noticed that everyone in their seats were motionless. It was like they were frozen in time. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. No one did anything. The movie had paused. A voice from the movie screen shouted, "Stop what you are doing right now." "Are you talking to me?" said Meth. "Put the bag down and take a seat." Meth was not in control of his movements. It was like he almost had become a puppet, and unseen strings had picked him up and put him into a seat. The voice echoed in a loud voice, "You will see things differently after this." The movie started at a movie theatre, and the main character was Meth. It showed him about to blow up the entire place and kill everyone inside. Then the movie went back in time. Back to a place where Meth had known as a child. It showed the truth of what happened to him and her as a very, very young boy. The truth of how his parents had abandoned him. It began to make all sense, and things fitted in, for he saw in detail how his parents had been unable to provide food and shelter because of poverty and sickness. He saw his parents struggling to provide food. It showed his parents had a great love for him, and how sad they were when they were forced to hand Meth over to the government's orphanage. The movie showed how hard his parents had tried to get back their child from the orphanage, but at every attempt to do so, they were refused. The movie showed in great detail how the system had changed the name of Meth at birth on his certificate and all the records on the birth certificate, and how the child had been given a new identity, and how the child was sold to a very wealthy couple who couldn't have children of their own. The movie continued to show how the relationship ended up in frequent arguments between the wealthy couple that turned into violence. And in the end, the wealthy couple broke up, leaving the child alone outside the orphanage where they had brought him. Then the movie on the screen switched to a place where Meth's parents were living to this very day. It showed the address, and it showed how they were still trying to contact and find their lost son. Meth sat in the seat, and he started to cry inconsolably.
Why? Why?
Meth could see how much he was loved. He wiped the tears from his face. And the movie switched to two people who were seated behind him in the movie theatre. And it was his parents. Then it showed a future glimpse of Meth with a wife and children of his own who loved him. His future wife was also one of the people there in the theatre that night. Then on the screen, the movie showed other people in the theatre and all of the things that they had personally been through in their lives. Very briefly, their situations that Meth could never have imagined. But somehow all those people had managed to overcome the difficulties and live normal lives. Then on the screen it began to show very quickly little segments here and there of the struggles of all of those people whose lives that he would take away. If the bomb had been activated, it showed the goodness in their heart, and it showed everyone's lives unfold, and Meth could see a change in his mind, in his heart.
Enough! Enough! For God's sake, please, please, please stop, please,
said Meth. A voice from the screen said, "Now that you have seen the big picture, you will never be the same again."
Forgive me. I was so wrong. I can see differently. I can't.
So, now, it's up to you. I have shown you how things are. Go now, make a life for yourself, here, tonight. Meth felt all the strings that had control over him were being released. As he bent down to open the backpack, to his surprise, instead of a bomb, all of his snakes and his pet rat scurried out from the bag. The voice called out from the screen, "Rodent of the alleyway and reptiles of the earth, come to me. Hear the sound of my voice and follow me into the picture of life." All the snakes and the rats scurried into the screen, and afterwards the screen showed a great explosion that had dismantled an entire city. Let the show begin. Suddenly, all the audience in the theatre began to move and started to resume eating their chips and snacks and drinking their soft drinks and milkshakes. Meth moved behind to the empty seat and sat there with his parents until the end of the show. After the movie was over, he spoke to his parents and told them the story of his life. And that evening, Meth was reunited with his real parents. And from that day and that night on, Meth had found a new life in a world that he had never known before. His life went on as he had seen on the big picture. And then just before the end, as those who loved him stood around him, and his life was flickering away as an old man, Myth began to see a new movie begin. It wasn't a sequel. It was something really very, very special, because this movie he was watching had no beginning or end. It was just a story so full of beautiful adventures. The end.